All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about materials instead of Unreal Engine. And materials are basically little programs called shaders that run on your GPU that tell the world what colors should be drawn where on the screen. So this here is transparent, right? So you can do transparency with them. There's a whole lot of really neat things you can do with them. A couple of concepts to introduce first, maybe, is the notion of a normal map. So if I put concrete, let's see here, concrete panels, yeah, let's do that. And that looks terrible. Yeah, let's put on this one. That's a good one. Cobblestones, maybe. There we go. Okay. So if we put this material on here, it is what it is. It's a program that's running that is saying at this point, draw red. At this point, draw black. At this point, draw brown. Okay. And it's got a couple different things inside of it. One is a picture of the cobblestones, but there's also a couple other things going on. One of which is called a normal map. And a normal map is kind of an important concept. I'm going to kind of show you how this works prior to having you do it inside of the shader. So I got a light over here. And as I move the light around, do you see how the cobblestones look like they're actually kind of like round? You know, they're kind of like sticking up out of the wall a little bit. If I move these things around, you can see the area on the top of the rock there. You see how it looks like it's 3D, right? Like these rocks are actually kind of like sticking up out of the wall. If I move the light below it, you see how like these areas down here are like kind of dark and shadowy. If I move the light below it, the area underneath lights up. If I move it on top, the area underneath kind of gets dimmer. See that? It's all a lie. If I look at these rocks from the exact side, camera speed down a little bit here. If I look at them from exactly the side, you can see these rocks are actually not sticking out of the wall at all. It is a perfectly flat plane, but it is simulating these rocks kind of bulging out from the surface with something called a normal map on them. And the normal of a surface is a vector perpendicular to the surface. So if you have a plane like this, the normal is this. It's a line that is perpendicular to the plane. Okay. And that is what is used for lighting calculations. When light hits a surface, it reflects off the normal. So if you have a normal like this and light comes in, it bounces around the normal. And so what's happening here is, even though this thing is a perfectly flat wall, we somehow have the illusion of depth and roundedness from the lighting on it, because what's happening is the normal map is saying at this point on the map, I'm not actually, the way up is not perpendicular to the surface. It's actually at this angle, or it's at this angle. Where you have a groove, then the like if you have a groove between the different rocks, it's all flat, but we're pretending, right? If there's a groove between the two rocks, the normals are going to be pointed like this at each other, and like in this area right in here. And then they're going to react to light in different ways. And the overall effect is quite impressive, right? What do you guys think? Like that is actually pretty amazingly realistic looking, as long as you don't violate the illusion by looking at it from on the side, and then you see, oh, this wall is actually completely perfectly flat. Right. You guys like that? It's called a normal map. You guys understand? You guys here? You guys alive? Dead silence on the chat channel right now. All right. So what we're going to learn today is how to make a material. And materials are these things you can apply to the objects in the world, and you can have them do all sorts of different interesting things. This, like this. Okay. So we're going to start off with the world's simplest material, which is just a flat color. Okay. So I'm going to go into my build directory. Again, I recommend that you guys in this class make a folder for all the stuff you do in this class, just so it's easy to find. And here inside of the content browser, if you don't see the content browser, then you're probably in Unreal Engine 5 mode. Hit space to pull the drawer up. So I'm just going to be in my build folder. I'm going to right click and choose new material. So I right clicked, choose new material. And I'm going to call this one Bill_Matt. Matt is short for my friend Matt Graph. No, wait, sorry, material. And then we are going to double click on it to open it up. And here is all of the things that we can output to our material. So whatever we connect these pins to here, and all these pins, you can kind of drag off them, and it creates like a little white line that connects to them. Whatever we connect to them is what the material is going to draw. And so the most basic thing that we can draw is just a flat color. And so if you right click is something you're going to be doing a lot in this class. You right click and it brings up a search option that has an infinite number of options in it. We're going to search for a constant 3 vector. Constant 3 vector, the 3 constants are red, green, and blue. So every color you see on the screen here is a combination of red and green and blue. With a constant 3 vector, you can essentially get a color picker like this, and you can double click on that. One trick is it defaults to black for whatever reason. It defaults to a brightness of 0. So you might pick like this lovely blue color, and then you hit it and it's black. Like, wait, what's going on here? I picked this and I got black. What you have to do is not only pick the color, but you have to drag the brightness up. And then you'll get blue or orange or whatever it is you're trying to get. Okay. And then we're going to hook it up. This is something you're going to be doing all semester long, so make sure you pay attention right now. You drag from one of these pins to one of the other pins, and you let go. And now this orange is hooked up to the output of the material node, and the color of the thing is now going to be orange. You can see on the preview over here, we are now getting, it's kind of yellowish. Let's make it more orangey, maybe. Yeah. And you can just look at kind of like what it's going to look like. And you can do this for each of these output pins. Now, not all of the output pins you're going to use every time. Not all of them are useful. Metallic, for example, only really takes 2 possible values. So if we right click here and go to constant and just search for constant, there's only really 2 options for metallic. There's 0, which means what we had already, which is plastic. There's really only 2 options. There's technically more. But if metallic is set to 1, then you get a metal orange. Ooh, pretty. It's metal now. And if you set it to 0, then you get plastic. Okay. There are things called quasi-metals that have a metallic value between 0 and 1, but they look really weird and alien, and so most people don't use them. So, hit save, hit apply if you have to have mine set to apply automatically, and then I'm gonna dock my material up next to my world up here. And that will allow me to switch back and forth between my material and the world. In practice, I've got 3 monitors here. And so what I would actually do is have my second monitor have my material over here, but now you guys can't see it on the screen. But let me just give you an example. So I could drag this out here, and you can see I've got this cool orange metal here. Here, drag it out here. And then on my other screen over here, I could like set the metallicity of it to 0. and then I have to hit save and apply, and then you'll see over here, it changes to plastic. So I could be over here and be like, okay, let's mess with it. Okay, it's metallic again. Right, that's actually how I do my development. Game development really needs multiple monitors. It's really, really useful. Screen real estate is really important when doing game dev. I often use all 3 of my 4K monitors when doing game dev. For this class, though, I'm going to simply drag and dock the material here. And then when I edit the value and save it and apply it, I just have to click back over here, and you can see the change. Okay. So just as a workflow thing, I recommend having these on different monitors just so you can kind of like see your results immediately. But for this class, I'm just going to have it like this. Okay, next up is Specular and Roughness. So Specular is, do you see the little light reflection right here? It's kind of like how shiny the thing is. How do you open up the material graph from a sphere? So you actually double click on the material itself. So you have to right click, make a material, and then you double click on the material. The sphere here is just a preview. You don't actually have to have a preview of a sphere either. Let's see, where's the options? You make it not a sphere somewhere. Preview mesh. Cube. Okay. It's a skeleton measure. Yeah, so you can use any mesh as a preview. Sphere is just kind of the default. Okay. Revert. Okay. In Unreal, oftentimes you'll see a little undo arrow next to things. They'll put you back at default. Okay. So Specular is kind of like how shiny the thing is. Specular is not used if you have metallic turned on. But if I put it up at shiny, you'll see how I get this little specular highlight here. So these are like the little, like if you have a pool ball, you see how you have that little, like little white thing there. If you've ever played pool, they have those little reflective specular highlights on them. So if you want shiny, you get that. Watch when I turn the specular to 0, that specular highlight goes away. So there's a lot of fun you guys can have with these things. I hope you guys have fun with today's homework assignment because it's art, and you just get to mess around with things and change things around and see what you get. So 0.8 has a less intense specular highlight than 1, and the values go from 0 to 1 on most of these things. So roughness is like if you were to touch the material, if it's super smooth, it has a roughness of 0. If it's like a mirror smooth polish, roughness is 0. Whereas if it's like a really scuffed up plastic or something like that, it would have a roughness of 1. And basically what roughness means is, again, we're going to do the constant here. What roughness means is when light hits it, how likely is the light to reflect off like a mirror? Or how likely is it to get reflected off in a random direction? So light comes in and bounces in a random direction. That is a rough surface, because rough surfaces have little valleys and mountains all over the surface. That's why it's rough. You touch it, it's not smooth. It's got valleys and crevasses and mountains microscopically on it. And they cause light to bounce in different directions. So if you have a roughness of 1, this thing looks just like a really scuffed up plastic. Whereas with a roughness of 0, it is mirror polished. Right? Both 1 and 0 usually look pretty bad. Even if you want like a really shiny thing, you might use like 0.2 or something like that. That looks a little bit better than like a perfect mirror polish. So with a spec of 0.8, you can see we have this really strong specular highlight here. You turn that down, turn it off if you want. No specular highlight anymore. 6. And if we save and apply this, then you'll see out here we've got our, it's still plastic, it's not metal, right? But you can see it's actually reflecting like this stuff over here. You can actually probably see, I don't know if, is it, can you guys see that in the stream? There's like a reflection of the blue box right here. Just barely. So if I move it around, you can kind of like see the reflection in it. So yeah, so again, what we did was we right-clicked, made a new material, and then you just double-click it. You double-click the material to open it up, and then you can hook up these things like this. Okay. Doesn't matter. Emissive. Now, emissive is pretty fun. Most things just reflect light, but some surfaces emit light. For example, if you're making a glow-in-the-dark bracelet, if you're making the headlights on a car, if you're making the LEDs on the front of a computer, like my webcam right here has a little glowing blue light on it indicating it's recording right now, you can make things glow, and it's pretty cool. So if I were to give this an emissive color, I'm going to just duplicate this orange here and make it glow orange. It's not you. Let's hook it up like that. It is now radiating orange light. Do you see that? Pretty cool, right? It's not just orange, it's radioactive orange now. So it is emitting light. It's pretty cool. And if I come back in here and make the value even bigger, so let me show you the first thing that we're going to do other than just like directly hooking something up to the output. I'm going to drag out from here. I'm going to left click and drag. I'm going to choose multiply. And I'm going to multiply the orange by 10. And the output of that is going to go into emissive color. And so now it's not just orange, it is super orange. It is oranger than anyone has ever oranged before. And so you can see the light just got turned up a lot. So it is now not just radiating orange light at 100%, it is radiating orange light at 1,000%. And due to Unreal Engine 5's cool global illumination thing, it can actually, you can actually see there's like light, you know, even back here, where there's not even like necessarily like a line of sight to it. Light is bouncing around the world. You can actually see there's a little bit of orange on this over here, even though it doesn't directly have a line of sight to the radiating object. And we can make this brighter if we wanted. We can make it 100 times brighter. Why not? What's the worst that can happen, right? It is now almost painful to look at, as it is 100 times more orange than anything. You definitely see there's still orange back over here. Over here, you can see the lighting model suffering on that because we got glass over there, and so the glass is trying to do its glass things. You can see sampling errors here from the ray tracing. But yeah, this thing is radiating orange all throughout the level now, and so that is like a painfully bright orange surface. It's pretty cool. If you move it, you'll see that the light, you know, moves with it, right? It's pretty cool. When you make a new node, which category allows you to change the color of the material? You make a new node, a new material. The base color is the color of the material. The emissive, though, will override that. So if we have emissive light that is like purple, it's 100 times more purple than, you know, normal purple. It's going to basically kind of overwhelm the orange coming out of this. So we're now radiating purple light. You're probably not going to see much of the orange remaining in it. When you drag out a line from the base color. So if you drag out a line from the base color, you're going to choose a constant 3 vector. There's a shortcut for that, which I do all the time. Hold down 3 with your finger, hold down 3, and click. And that gives you a constant 3 vector. Hold down 1 and click. Does nothing. Apparently. There we go. Hold down 1 and click. It gives you a constant. Hold down 4 and click. It gives you a constant 4, which is RGBA. A is, of course, transparency. So you can make your material have transparent gaps in it, such as this over here. Or if you want to have an alpha in it, you can have holes in your material, and then people can look through it like this modern art installation we got going on right here. Okay. Yeah, useful shortcuts. There are many shortcuts I don't know. Unreal Engine is absolutely lousy with shortcuts. Not all of them make sense. But the ones that I know, I will share with you. The ones that I use on a daily basis, I will share with you because it helps a lot. So I'm going to come in here and just turn this down to half maybe. And so I've really turned the lighting down. You can see it stops glowing quite so much. You can see that even with like half, just half, like a 200th of the light as before, only a little bit of the orange is coming through. This kind of looks like a tropical drink or something, right? You got a little bit of the magenta glowing, you got a little bit of the orange, but the emissive really does kind of cover up the base color of the object, and it's really kind of hard to see what color things are. So my advice is to be careful with emissive color. It's going to overload your standard colors a lot of the time, so you just have to kind of be cautious with it. Okay. All right, I'm going to disable emissive color for now. Back to shiny orange. Yep. Like a shiny plastic material now. All right. Next up is NormalMap. NormalMap is what I showed you guys earlier, how you can simulate grooves and bumps and dips and dots on the surface of the material without actually needing to make more triangles for it. So if I put it into wireframe mode, you can see that the box here is just a set of 2 triangles per face. The more triangles you have on the screen, the lower your frame rate. And so you can draw pretty much any cube you want. Maybe not these with their chamfered sides, but pretty much any cube can be drawn using just 6 sides, and each side has 2 triangles on it. A square can be drawn as 2 triangles. And so at any point in time, though, I can only see 3 of the faces of the cube. So basically, no cube I'm going to have in the game will eat up more than 6 triangles, which is pretty good. The more triangles you have, the slower everything goes. And you have a so-called triangle budget in your game, and you want to use your triangles to draw things that are important, that you need the detail on. And then we don't want to use triangles when we don't have to. So here is Frosty's head. If we look at that, look at all those triangles, huh? What do you guys think? Because approximating a sphere using triangles is actually, it takes a lot of triangles to approximate it. The cone back here is pretty bad also. But if you look at the walls, like the walls are going to be like 6, Whereas Frosty here, it's a lot, right? So you got to be cautious with these things, right? Tend to prefer cubes and rectangles over curved surfaces, because to make a curved surface look good, you have to have a lot of triangles to approximate the curve. Okay, so coming back in here, we got our normal map. Now, I'm going to show you guys another useful shortcut, and that is holding down T. T is for texture. It'll do a texture sample. Or you can drag out from NormalMap and choose texture sample as well. Either way works. I always just hold down T and click. So a texture is a picture. So for example, if I wanted to put my face onto the side of this building, I could do so by taking a screenshot of me right now. So I'm going to Control-Shift-S, take a screenshot, and I'm going to just drag over myself like that. And then where did that go? Oh, let me do that again. Take a screenshot. Gonna save it to the desktop. Now you guys don't have to do this. It's just funny. I'm going to import on the desktop, the screenshot. There's me a second ago. And I can actually drag this picture. If I snap the window over here, I can actually drag myself in, and it will do a automatic texture sample for me. And instead of orange, I can just hook up me to the base color instead. And now we've got a ramp that has, I don't even know what's happening anymore on here. It's got my picture on it. It is all messed up. Let's see here. Text chord. And there we go. It is the most yeah, okay. Seamless. I know, this is ready for prime time. I love it. Let's try this maybe. That's a little better. Yes, I don't even know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. Okay. So I'm not in streamer mode anymore. AAA, I know, right? I'm ready to work for Bethesda. So yeah. So basically, any picture you want, you can just import into the material using texture sample. More commonly, what I expect you guys to do is you click on the texture sample, and you're going to go over to here, and you're going to pick a texture. So, for example, brick, clay, old, and then you'll have a picture on your wall. You notice how this looks kind of fake, right? Like this doesn't look like actual bricks, right? This looks like a wallpaper. It looks like somebody took a photograph of bricks and just got a wallpaper, not like a computer wallpaper, an actual wallpaper, and just had one of those photo mural things where they just pasted a photograph on the side of a completely flat building, right? You guys see that? It does not look good. This does not look like an actual brick surface. It looks like the picture of a brick that's completely flat. If I move the light around, you see how the grooves in it aren't reacting like as if it was actually extruding, as if it was sticking out. Yeah. So what we need to do is add a normal map to it. Okay. So I'm going to come down here, hold down T and click. And so it picked my face. What would that do? I have. This is going to be terrible. You can see. Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. Everything's screwed up. Yeah, what we want is instead of my face, which one did I pick here? I picked brick, clay, old. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to search for brick, clay, old. And I'm going to search for something that ends in an _N. N is for normal map. D is for diffuse map, which is another name for color. So base color is also called diffuse. You'll see it called diffuse sometimes. So with a normal map of brick clay old, and I'll hook up the text chords so it tiles a little bit nicer. Then what happens now is that NormalMap is simulating the grooves in the bricks. And so you see how the seams actually look good now. You got like these curved surfaces here that are like curved, and like the light's reflecting off of it properly. You can see your light reflecting off all these the uneven surface on the, right? There's a little uneven surface there, and it actually looks pretty darn good. If you want to increase the tiling, right? Like right now, these bricks look gargantuan. Like they do not look good at all. If you want to increase the tiling, there is a node called text chord. And text chord allows you to choose how many times the picture will repeat in each direction, the horizontal direction and the vertical direction. And put an image on a sphere and made something cursed. Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. So by setting the tiling to 4, it will tile 4 times per surface. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this puts the bricks onto a size that looks reasonable. These guys look okay. Now this doesn't look great, but here, yeah, it looks pretty good. So we can move the lighting around. You can see. You guys all see that? Like in the seams between the bricks, like it actually looks pretty good. Whereas before it looked like just a flat, completely flat plastic, you know, wallpaper. You guys all see that? Do you guys understand a NormalMap? Where do you get the NormalMaps from? Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, hopefully whoever gave you the texture sample for the diffuse has a texture sample ready for the normal as well. So what you're going to do for your homework assignment is we're going to send you to a website called Polyhaven, where there are tons and tons of tons and tons of textures available. So if you go to polyhaven.com, you're going to click on textures here, and then find something that looks cool. And these are, I think they're pretty much all early access, whatever, Patreon, whatever. Okay. Find something that looks cool. Dark wood. Japanese stone. Wood table. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so just, go around, find something that looks neat. I kind of like that dark wood. That sounds cool. Not you, not you, you. Yes, dark wood. Okay. And so it shows you kind of like what it looks like. And that's, I think, the normal map. Normal maps typically look psychedelic. And you can do a 3D preview of it. Here. You can do a 3D preview of it. Somewhere. There we go. And you can kind of see what it looks like. Zoom in. Looks pretty nice. I like it. Okay. So if you want to import this into Unreal Engine, on the right-hand side here, there is a download option. And before you do that, my advice is maybe reduce the resolution on it. These things get huge. So if we go from 4K to 8K, that download just quadrupled in size, right? And then we're going to pick a zip file. And I'm going to do 8K because I'm a baller. But you guys, like, if you pick 1K, it's 14 megs. If you pick 8K, it's almost a gigabyte. So my advice is to do 1K because you're going to be moving these things around a lot, exporting them, stuff like that. I would go with 1K. So, but I am a baller. I am going to go 8K. Nah, I got like 20 minutes left in class. I'll show you guys the 1K download because it'll be fast. Okay. So what do we need to download here? Ambient occlusion, roughness, metal, ambient occlusion we hadn't quite gone to yet. It's this thing here. Ambient occlusion adds shadowing to cracks. And so if we had an ambient occlusion for our guy here, it would add shadowing into those areas between cracks. Let's see if we do have one available here. It keeps picking my face. That is absolutely hilarious. A brick, clay, old. Do we have an ambient occlusion? There is not one. Okay, but I'll show you how the process works. Okay, so step 1, go on to Polyhaven. Step 2, reduce the resolution to 1K just to make life easier on yourself. It's not going to look as good, but you know, a gigabyte just for a single material is a lot of hard drive space. And then so we're going to have this in PNG format. Diffuse is again base color. So we need base color, we need roughness, we need ambient occlusion, metallic we don't really need, but whatever. And a normal map. So perfect. Download, save it to the desktop. And you can do this multiple times, but I'm just going to do it once. So I'm now going to import this stuff into Unreal Engine. So I'm going to go to my desktop and go to dark wood. I'm going to extract it. And you can see here we got the 3 things that we were talking about. We got the ambient occlusion, roughness, metal, which is all held in one texture because it's a red channel, a green channel, and a blue channel. So they merged together 3 different texture maps into one because they're all monochrome essentially. So it's a little bit of an optimization. So I could actually just drag these things over into here. Do this, drag that, and it imports them. Done. Okay. Save all. Every time you import something, save all immediately. You don't want to be stuck having some things saved and some things not saved. It creates a mess. And so I'm going to come over to here. And so for my diffuse, I'm going to choose dark wood diffuse. Oh, that's interesting. I don't need the orange anymore either. So you see what's happening here? So I have the normal map for the bricks, right? So even though the surface is wood, because I have the shininess turned up and I have a normal map for the bricks, it looks like I have shiny, wet kind of looking wood bricks, which doesn't look great. It's kind of interesting, you know. You guys see that? Does that make sense how the normal map works? It's essentially simulating the surface with its surface irregularities and things like that on it. And again, none of these things are real. It's all simulated. They go into wireframe mode. You can see it's all just 2 triangles, right? It is not using any of my triangle budget whatsoever. And it looks pretty darn cool. Looks bad, but looks cool. Okay. So coming back in here. So we've got our base color, our diffuse setup. Metallic, instead of setting metallic to 0 and setting these things as well, I'm going to do another texture import. This one is going to be dark wood arm. Arm stands for ambient occlusion, roughness, and metallic. And so ambient occlusion is the red channel. That's going to go to ambient occlusion. That adds those shadows right there. Watch. If you want to break a link, by the way, Control-click or Alt-click will break a link. And if I put it back, it's adding little shadowing into the cracks there. Double-click, double-click, double-click. The red channel has very subtle shadowing on it. Oh no, it's not adding into the crack at all. It's adding it in the wood grain essentially, because it's not supposed to be bricks, right? But for the if I opened up the brick ambient occlusion, it would, if it existed, it would show shadows in between the grooves there. Okay, so ambient occlusion, roughness, and metallic. Like that. So how did I know which one to hook these things up on? The name of it. So it says Darkwood Arm. Arm. A, ambient occlusion, and it's always RGB. So ambient occlusion is the red, R. Roughness is the green, and M for metallic is the blue. So that's how I know which of these 3 things is which. If you open these things up, if you look at the blue channel, none of it's metallic. The roughness shows that some areas of the wood is shiny and some of it is rough. And the ambient occlusion shows there's little bits of shadowing added to the little grooves and the little dips and dots inside of the wood. And then the last thing we need to do is make it not brick, not brick, but rather dark wood normal. And now this is adding the grooves. It's probably going to be too subtle even really to see. But like the little dots in there are all acting like they should. So it's 3 texture samples. The first texture sample is the diffuse, that goes into base color. The second one is the arm, which is ambient occlusion for red, or roughness, metallic. And then finally the normal. These 3 things are the 3 things that you're going to probably import no matter what material you make. These are the champions, right? There's other things you can do, like mess with these things where it'll actually move the pixels around and things like that. There's subsurface color where you can actually have light penetrate in through like jade or stone or flesh. Like if you look through the through skin, light will go through skin a little bit. Your skin is translucent. And so you can like come over here, you could shift the shading model to be like subsurface. And subsurface means that light will actually pass through the object, which is kind of cool. Here it probably looks pretty bad. Let's see here. You see how like light is kind of like coming through the edges here. It's not like translucent. But you have to give it a color on the inside. So the inside of this should be red of 0.8, green of 0.4. Sure. So the light on the inside of my wood here is like this brown color. And so now you can see, look at that, right? It's like, have you ever like held your hand up to a flashlight? You know what I'm talking about? Like, and you have like that red. Yeah. Like light's actually coming through the object now. And so by doing subsurface scattering, you can create these like cool, like jade, for example, allows light to penetrate through it. But you have to give it a color of like what color it is on the inside. And so this guy is now orange on the inside. And so you can see the light kind of coming through like that. Pretty cool. The guy who invented that came to UCSD. He was applying to be a professor there. And so I sat in on the lecture, the guy that invented that. And I was like, man, it was a pretty cool lecture, you know, pretty neat. I don't think he got the job, which is unfortunate. But I was blown away by it. It's like that, like when you hold your light up to a flashlight, you know, simulating that in the computer. Let's see if there's shots like jade or something like that. Okay, that looks terrifying. Looks like his whole body is just ballistic gel or something like that. Yeah, here's jade, right? So pretty cool stuff. And the neat thing is, Unreal Engine just does it for you. You know, like you don't have to know anything about it. All you have to know is that it exists. And that's, yeah, I don't think he did. And it's a shame too, because I was like blown away. All the people who saw the talk were like, that was amazing. I didn't know you could even do that. And yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, maybe he got a job offer and turned it down. I don't know. All I know is that he never appeared on the faculty list, which is a shame. Maybe he's Berkeley or something. I don't know. So yeah, so you can. All you have to do is just turn on Subsurface. There's clear coat. Does anyone here know what a clear coat is on a car? I don't know. It would have been cool taking classes from. What is a clear coat, Gianni? It's a thin glossy layer, yeah, exactly. And so if you look at the surface of a car with a clear coat on it, you've actually got your paint layer, and then there's another layer of like a transparent reflective material on top of it. And so a car, you know, if you're trying to do like Gran Turismo or a game like that, most of the time the cars are gonna, you know, you want the cars to look nice, you know. And so you can sort of do a really cheap, I mean by cheap I mean like easy to do thing. Let's see if I can show what this looks like. Snapping it off. Yeah. See how that changed there? So you can kind of mess with the two different layers on it. It's pretty cool. Anyhow, so you can set the clear coat color, the clear coat roughness independently. Foliage, hair cloth eye, skin. Yeah, that's ignore most of those. Default lit is your default material. So that's what you're going to do for your homework assignment. So you're going to make a new material, import some textures from Polyhaven or whatever website you find. Maybe take a screenshot of yourself, put yourself into the game. How do you open up the color picker? If you are inside of the constant 3 thing here, which again I held down 3 and clicked to do that, double click on the color picker and then you're here. Just keep in mind that for whatever reason, it sets the brightness to 0. No matter what color you pick, you're like, oh, look at those beautiful colors. Nope, everything is set at 0 brightness. And so you have to drag the brightness up to 1 or at least off 0 in order to get a color. If you leave it at 0, it will stay black every time. So that's just a little caveat on that. Opacity, you can make the thing translucent. Mask is kind of cool too. Opacity mask. Okay, let's try something cool here. It's been a while since I've done this. Okay, that was not what I was expecting. And so now we've got a translucent material. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, honestly, it's pretty cool. Not what I was expecting, but it's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's see here. Masked. Translucent just means you need the alpha in there. Mask. Shading model. It's a little better. So if I make it 2-sided, you can actually be on the inside of it and look out. Normally, you don't ever draw the back side of a material. So like normally, if you turn off 2-sided, normally if you're inside of an object, you don't see anything, right? You can see it from the outside, but if you're inside of something, it vanishes, right? And the reason for that is when you have a solid object, you only ever need to draw the front face because no matter how you rotate it, you're only going to be looking at the front faces of things. And so like for this cube here, the faces that are facing away from us, we can't see them. For any normal platonic solid, no matter how you rotate it, you can't ever see the back faces. right? No matter how you rotate this cube here, you can never see more than 3 faces at a time, the 3 that are facing you. And so by default, to double your frame rate, it will not draw the backside faces. Now, that's a problem when A, it's translucent, and now suddenly you can see there's nothing on the other side there, right? Right? That's kind of a problem. And the other time it's an issue is when you can step inside of it. Like if the object is not solid, if it doesn't have collision on it, then you want to turn 2-sided rendering on, and now you have this cool little Hunter's Blind looking thing here. It's actually pretty dope material. I think I'm going to keep that one. I like that. Okay, so that one has an opacity mask, and basically you can choose areas that are drawn and areas that are not drawn. And depending on how I mess with the tiling on this, about out of time, text chord, and how I mess the tiling on this. You can do all sorts of like cool effects. I mean, that's pretty dope, right? Like, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, that looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? Ready to ship? What do you think? 0.1. Interesting. Looks like a camouflage netting kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so as you can see, like this is the kind of stuff that you just sit there and just play with. You know, like you can just sit there and be like, I wonder what'll happen if I do this. And like Bob Ross says, you know, we're just looking for happy little accidents. You know, if you get a weird bug but it looks cool, hang on to it. You know, like put that in your pocket and like, you know, save it for later. So can you stack a texture? Yes. Yes, you can. So like if you wanted to colorize this thing, like I've got my dark wood. You have to say it that way, by the way. Dark wood. And I want to make it like more red, more cherry colored. I can do a multiply node. I held down M and clicked, by the way. And I can multiply the wood by, held down 3 and click. Color picker. Pick like a cherry color. And by the way, spaghetti is like the bane of existence of Unreal Engine. So I'm multiplying the wood by cherry color. Might be a little bit too red. Turn it down, turn it down. And now the wood is now red instead of brown as it was before. Pretty cool, right? So you can take wood, walnut, you know, and multiply it by an orange tint, make it. Yeah. And so there's all sorts of cool things you do with this. Multiply things together, you can add things together. For example, I could add, let's get rid of the masking for a second. So we've got this like cool like cherry oak looking thing here. And we can just like add the little add node in here. We're going to add this cherry oak with a texture sample of my face. And I don't know what's going to happen here. I think I need to turn up the tiling. And now we have this like cherry oak with my face sort of blended with it, right? It's kind of cool, yeah. And so like if you want to have spray painted, like if you want to have like somebody graffiti a wooden surface or something, then you can do that and add one texture on top of another one. Especially if the texture has transparency on it, then just the spray paint part will appear. The rest of it will be masked away, and there you go. So, you can also animate a texture by using a panner node. So now if you look really close at that, you can see the wood's not moving, right? The cherry wood is actually the same, but that picture of me is sliding across it at a diagonal angle. A little bit disorienting. Let's maybe just have it go vertically. So you can have, if you wanted to make a billboard or something like that, where the things are scrolling, you can do so. Panner nodes are really useful for water, where you can animate different layers of water moving on top of each other to simulate water ripples and reflections and things like that. So there's just like an amazing amount of things you can do using the Unreal Materials Editor. This is just your first lecture in it. I hope you guys had fun today. I certainly did. I've never made this particular material before, so you know, it's you know, every time I do this, I just have fun with it. Just see what happens. And now the camouflage netting has my face scrolling across it. That will distract all of the enemies so that they will not be able to see you on the inside. But honestly, like something like this, where like you can have like a glowing, like if it's a sci-fi game, you could have like a shield that's like having like waves of energy coming up, protecting the area, something like that. Like I think you guys can see the possibilities here are really endless. But we are over time. Apologize for that, but I was having fun. So your homework is going to be to basically make a material. And I will see you guys next Thursday. There's no class on Tuesday. I am flying to a secret meeting to discuss ChatGPT, the Kearney energy camouflage. I just need to add like the bands of like energy, you know, like wah, wah, you know. Maybe I'll do that after I stop the recording here. All right, thanks everybody, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Peace. All right, a little addendum. I added these like energy waves to it. I stopped the animation on my face. In part, I'm probably going to take my face out, although it's hilarious. So what I did was I added a texture coordinate, scaling it horizontally to make strips. Then doing a panner so that these things slide upwards, grabbing that out, feeding that into emissive color. And I'm going to try like maybe messing with this a little bit. You can see that we got these like glowing, you know, bands of energy. I guess I could tweak. Kind of wild. Turn it down quite a lot. I'll pull my face out of it because that's just silly at this point. And do you. And now, because the request was for like an energy screen. They wanted to build Kearney energy screen, but it's a little silly. So now we've got this like camo thing where like you got bars of energy flying up like that. Not sure I'm super impressed by it. It's a little bit too noisy. You can see that you got like these flickering bars of energy on it. Kind of looks cool. I think I probably want to play with it a little bit more to get it looking good. But again, this is just to show you that there's just a whole lot of really cool things you can do with the material node editor inside of Unreal Engine. All right, so that is actually the end of the lecture today. Peace out.